One's a Chiefs fan, the other's a Pats fan, and together they make Primetime Dimes.
What's up, my fellow football fanatics? Welcome back to episode 7 of Primetime Dimes, your weekly source for surviving the offseason and breaking down the headlines during the season. I'm one of your hosts, Chelsea, and with me as always is Milton.
Hey guys. So, Chelsea, how's your arm doing after your first dose of the vaccine?
Oh, it hurt. It really hurts, but that's about it. That's the only symptom I have. I could barely sleep last night because it was so much pain, but I am very happy that I am vaccinated, and I feel very lucky that I was able to get vaccinated. So,
How did
hope everyone else gets vaccinated.
yeah, how does it feel? Like I've spoken to some of my friends on the front lines that are just like that sense of relief finally having the vaccine and being like, "Oh, okay, maybe this thing won't necessarily kill me now."
Yeah, yeah, I think I'll feel more like that after my second dose because I know I still have to get a second shot. So I think until then I'll feel a lot more relieved. But yeah, it feels really good to kind of worry about it a bit less.
Yeah, you're Moderna or Pfizer?
No, I got Pfizer.
Pfizer, nice.
Yeah,
I'm like
yeah.
anxiously awaiting mine. I'm just like, stick whatever needle you want into me. Let's go.
Just jab me, please.
It's one of the coolest scientific kind of progressions I've ever seen. So yeah, it's been fun.
But we're not here to talk about science. We're here to talk about football. And it is the last podcast of the month, which means it's college football time.
Woot.
We're less, yes, we are less than 100 days away from the start of the college football season. And I have to say, the opening weekend is looking very exciting. But before we get into opening weekend games, we wanted to break down some like how college football works because it is different from the NFL. And I know most of our listeners are mostly NFL fans. So let's dive into this really quickly. So for college football, there are actually 124 teams in the football
Jesus.
bowl subdivision, or FBS is what it's most referred to as. It's divided into 11 conferences. There are 6 conferences that are, I guess people would consider at the top of the league, and that's the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the Big East.
Question.
Yes.
Sorry, I know you got a lot you want to cover, but are these the only places that we will really see NFL players coming out of, that and JUCO, or is it just most players come from here and then it's scattered throughout the other conferences?
No, most of them come from these 6 conferences that you will rarely find one come from the other ones. These are the big 6. These are the ones we are going to talk about most. These are the ones you're going to hear about most in conversation. They're the most talked about. They have the biggest names that come out of there. So,
Cool. Sorry.
Anyways, so for determining championships, during the regular season, teams play majority of their games against other members of their conference. At the end of each regular season, a conference championship is crowned. In the case of the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the ACC, the champion is determined in a conference championship game. The Big 12 and the Big East championships are awarded to the team with the best record in their regular season in their interconference matchups. The 6 conference champions, plus the 4 additional teams selected primarily but not exclusively from the 6 major leagues, are invited to participate in the 5 bowl games, which include the Orange Bowl in Miami, the Fiesta Bowl in Phoenix, the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, and the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And then there's the national championship game, which is played in one of the 4 sites of the other major bowl games on a rotating basis. So the championship only playing one of those 4 cities.
That makes a lot more sense now.
The top 2 teams, according to the rankings, are invited to play in the championship game, which the winner is named the champion. The rankings rely on human polls as well as a computer algorithm to determine the top 2 teams in the country. The best way to earn a spot in the title games is to be a member of one of these 6 major conferences and win all of your regular season games. And then the rankings are really important, and I'll get into that. So before the season starts, polls are taken of select coaches and media members who cover the sport, asking them to rank who they believe will be the top teams in the country in the upcoming season. And then they will rank the top 25 teams. These rankings are based largely on how a team performed the previous year, the level of talent from returning players, and the quality of incoming players. Each week during the regular season, the pollsters are asked to re-rank the teams in order, taking into account the results from the previous week. So each week they're ranked. It's not until about November that the rankings become like official and taken more seriously. And a team that is ranked and wins usually either maintains its position or moves up as a result of another team that is ranked higher losing that week. And it also, another point I want to make that they do take into account in the polls is I need to word this right. You can win, but it also depends on your point spread. So if you win, but the game is really close and it's a game that you should have blown them out of the water, you could actually move down. So these rankings are very opinionated.
I hate these rankings.
And we'll get into it in another college episode about they may be possibly changing how the rankings work and expanding the playoffs in the
Thank
future.
God.
So we'll get into that in another episode. But these polls are part of the formula that is used to determine who plays in the national championship. So that is why they're very important. I don't believe we have any preseason rankings yet, but we do have some monster mashups heading into, did I say mashups?
I don't know, but fair enough.
I'm going to start that again. I don't believe we have any preseason rankings yet, but we do have some monster matchups heading in right into week 1 of college football season. Are there any on this list that catch your eye, Milton?
Well, okay, so I know very little about college football besides from Go Oklahoma. That's my knowledge.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
Great. It's cool. Fantastic. I have a lot to say about college football in the long run, some of the stupidity and nuance to that game. But like when I look at opening week games, I'm more like, oh, cool. I know that team. Like, so there's Alabama versus Miami. That's going to be dope. That's going to be dope.
Yeah.
I know you have Nick Saban. You have one of the best coaches, probably one of the best dynasties, arguably ever. But I'll leave that to someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to college. Versus Miami. And all I know about Miami is that at one point, this dude named Tate Martell played for him. And he was supposed to be draft eligible, I guess, this year. And he's just kind of fizzled out. That's about all I know about Miami. And I was kind of hoping to see Martell get to play, but he opted out due to COVID. And so, like, who knows? His career is basically up in flames for nothing. So I don't really know much that's going to happen there, except for it's probably going to be Alabama winning.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big game for both of them. They're both 2 big conference teams, like different conferences, but both big in their own. Alabama has a lot of new talent coming in.
But should we even worry about him having new talent coming in? Like, he's probably been watching these kids play since they're a kid, like small.
This is the new talent he has coming in. So first off, they're the number 1 rated class joining this season. Alabama has the number 1 recruiting class. They have 27 commits. 7 of them are 5 stars. 16 of them are 4-star recruits.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
The other thing here for Alabama is this will be the first look that we have as Bryce Young takes over for Crimson Tide's QB. He was the number one quarterback recruit in 2020, and he will be debuting as their full-time starter. It's been highly anticipated.
Ooh,
So this is another
I
big
like to
thing
see
for
that.
Alabama. Miami was just out of the top 10 for recruitment class at number 11. They have 22 commits, which is still a pretty big number. One five-star recruit and 12 four-star recruits. So a lot of new talent coming in for both teams. So it's going to be really exciting to see how all those pieces are going to move there. Um, but the next big game,
The
or
one
the
that
one
I'm
I'm
sure
most
you're
excited
excited
for,
for. Yeah, Jinx.
is prime time, Saturday night, Clemson versus Georgia. This is two regional rivals. Both these teams are going to be in the conversation for a national title. So it's very exciting that this is going to be a week one game. I'm really
National
excited to
title
see this.
already talking, eh? Yeah, talk your
Come on,
shit.
come on. It's very likely these two teams are going to be in the talk for the national title. That's all I'm saying. I'm not just boasting Clemson here, okay? Like Georgia is also one of my favorite teams. So this is going to tear me apart that it's week one.
Oh, we have to so delve in at one point to the fact that you are fans of cross-regional teams. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
But for the Bulldogs, they have a returning quarterback, JT Daniels. And their offense is going to take the next step under a offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. I think that's how you pronounce it. Daniels was terrific coming back from his knee injury in the final four games of the 2020 season. He threw 10 touchdowns and only had 2 picks. He had a full off season under his belt. And I'm really excited to see how Georgia can open things up, especially against Clemson, because Clemson has a really good defense. And then on the Clemson side, they have moved on from the Trevor Lawrence era. We now have DJ Uiagalelei, perfectly equipped to take the reins.
Yeah,
Love
I
it. I
watched
know.
some
I know. Yeah, I was just
some
about to say. I
film
know you
on
watched
him.
some film.
Yeah, dude, his long bombs, like it. Oh, geez, they just
I think I have it somewhere
soar.
later, but I'll bring it up now. I'm pretty sure he is the quarterback they had like a throw competition and he threw 80 plus yards
Yeah, that doesn't shock me from just
easily.
watching him play. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it looks effortless. It will be cool. It'll be cool to watch him play. Who knows? I mean, I'm used
Yeah.
to watching quarterbacks thrive in the mid game. So, like, my biggest problem with Mahomes and some of these younger quarterbacks is that they don't typically throw the mid range right. But these long ball, it looks so effortless for him. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping
it
maybe
really
his
does.
mid game also is dope. And
Yeah, it's hard to tell because he had 2 big games last year. He was excellent in them. The first one was versus Boston College. Excuse me. And the second one was Notre Dame. He had 781 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 more scores on the ground.
yeah.
And yeah, under Dabo Sweeney, they thrive in the regular season. Their defense gets the job done. Like they're really good on both sides. I think coming into this season, the only thing that Clemson really has to worry about is the wide receiver position because we have lost a lot of good talent over the
Yeah.
past 2 years. But I do believe we have one or two 4 or 5 star recruits coming in at wide receiver. So I don't like depending on how they play, I don't know how much of the problem that's going to be. But otherwise, I think that they're going to be great everywhere else.
A little biased, but I'll buy I'll buy in. I'll buy in. But speaking of Notre
I
Dame,
mean,
like Notre Dame also plays Florida State. Don't
yeah, they're
really have much to say about that besides from hey, Rudy played for Notre Dame, right?
this is going to be a big one because it is a conference ACC matchup. Notre Dame is fresh off of a playoff appearance, or not playoff, sorry, conference championship. The last time they were on the field, they lost to Clemson. And now they're going to have to come week 1 and play Florida State, which they're still searching for some direction under their second-year coach, but both teams have a lot of moving parts right now. I think this one's going to be an interesting one to watch, and it's really going to set the tone for the ACC conference. Cool. And then the other last game we have for the weekend is Louisville and Ole Miss. I don't really watch these two teams, but
Yeah, me either. They're better known as basketball schools, at least to me.
yeah.
So, I mean, I'll be watching more college, specifically to get better versed in the game, be able to have more insights on our specials like these. But I guess if I had to look at all of these, I'm probably watching Bama, because still to this day, Bama's the one that would draw me, with no Sooners being on the list.
Yeah.
Bama will always draw me to want to watch it because I know it. It's similar to what you guys will all see shortly is I'll start wearing soccer jerseys because you have Euro Cup. I warned Chelsea about this. And here in Ottawa, we'd only get Manchester United, which is a European, an English Premier League team. And everyone will make fun of me for being a fan of that club, because it has such a rich history and it's almost like a bandwagon type thing. It'd be like going for the Patriots. Ha ha ha.
Which you also do.
So the thing is, it's just here we'd only get them, like that's what was getting played in our area because they were popular. So you knew it would bring in ratings. It's the same reason why Alabama's played so much here in, again, Ottawa for me on TSN. It's, well, we know that this is a popular program. We know these games are typically really interesting to watch, and we know Nick Saban draws views. Let's put it on the TV. So, yeah, I'm going to watch Bama for precisely that reason.
I think aside from the Clemson-Georgia game, I'm also really excited. And I don't think I've ever said I'm excited to watch an Alabama game unless they're losing. Just because, like I said earlier, they have a lot of moving pieces as well. So I just want to see how they work and how the season is going to look based on how they play in this first game. Because Alabama usually dominates. So I do typically have an eye on them just to be like, okay, just watch out for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I hope come midway through the season, you have me super addicted to college football. Like Ryan won't want that at all because he does not get to see me on Sundays, so he probably won't be thrilled to not get to see me on Saturdays.
When you watch college football in addition to the NFL, you get football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Why wouldn't you want to watch it?
Because Ryan, there's not enough video games out right now to keep him entertained. I don't know, but I might have to get into college football, so I'll say sorry to our editor now. And be like, my bad. I love him.
But moving on from the games, let's talk about the quarterbacks. We'll get into more of the top quarterbacks closer to the season, but I wanted to highlight our team's quarterbacks heading into the 2021 season. So do you want to talk about your boy?
About Spencer Radler. Yeah, he's entering his third year at Oklahoma. He was the typical really high drafted prospect, or not drafted, but really high sought after prospect. I knew about him when he was playing for Pinnacle, which was his high school. And it was just fun to watch. It basically all started when you and I were chatting and you realized I didn't like college football. And so you were like, well, come on, dude, you have to get into it. Let's do it. And you were talking your shit about Clemson. And I was just like, nah, I'm not going to go for the same team just because it's always fun to go back and forth with you. And so I was like, oh shoot, now I got to choose a team. And I like watching college basketball, and I was like, maybe I'll go for Duke. Like, let's go Blue Devils. And then I realized can't even watch Duke games where I live, so that wasn't gonna be a thing. And I love watching everything that has to do with football. So I just watched QB1 on Netflix.
Nice.
And Spencer Radler was one of the QBs that they focused on. So that's how I'd seen him at Pinnacle. And I realized he had just moved over to playing for Oklahoma. And I just started following the Sooners from then on because it felt like he was being taught to appreciate the game more than appreciate the money and the fame that's coming his way. He just always came across as grounded. And it's like, yeah, that's the magic of TV and all of that. And yeah, for sure. But like, you follow him on social media and stuff, and he doesn't seem to be completely lost to it all. He's still just a kid enjoying playing out his dream. And that's been fun to go along with.
And he's good at it too.
Yeah, he just happens to be very good at what he does. And he's very he does remind me, you have it in the notes as well, but he does remind me of a Pat Mahomes. He
really does.
Very smooth in what he does, and he's very deliberate in his movements, similar to Pat Mahomes. Like you have to account for it any time. Mahomes is just going to turn and flick it.
Just like a effortless release from him.
And it generally works, and we've seen how you combat a Mahomes style, but you can also see it's highly effective. And in a league that is focused on scoring, being the NFL is focused on scoring right now more than defense, Mahomes and now a Radler style is appealing, and it's fun to watch. And
that's sort of the atmosphere in college too. It's like I've seen a game almost go to like one team score 80 points. Like that is, you go until like I said, it also not only depends on winning, but like how much you win by. So like these teams, even if they are crushing them, will not stop until the last buzzer rings.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to watch this dude get to let loose and go. He is finally, it is his team. You go, you win. And I do think he's going to win the Heisman. I do think we see...
Yeah, he's a contender for sure.
Another Burrow-esque type thing. I'm hoping for a national championship, but if I have to take one, I want the Heisman.
If Oklahoma pulls like Joe Burrow, LSU run like undefeated, wins the national championship, that's freaking amazing.
Oh, I guess I'll qualify. I don't think they go undefeated.
No? Okay.
No, I
haven't
don't.
looked at their full schedule.
I don't know who I think they'll lose to, but I don't like predicting teams will go undefeated, which is ironic because I did.
I'm saying if they do, pull it off,
I will be okay with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about your boy? Tell me why my boy is not winning the Heisman, or no, actually, your guy can't win.
No, he can't win.
But tell me why Clemson's gonna beat Oklahoma in the championship.
Yeah, we have a sophomore quarterback coming in, DJ Uiagalelei. Ask me how many times I had to say that to get it right.
I'm very proud.
He is probably one of the strongest arms we've seen in most recent years in college football. And like I said earlier, he can definitely throw 80 yards. He's done it. We've seen it. He has an ability to run zone read, and he's a very good runner in the open field. So he kind of almost reminds me of Lamar.
Yeah, awesome.
Just I just don't want him to get compared to a running back, but he does run. And then, he's also very accurate rolling out. He can throw. But
he throws too. Sorry to cut you off. Your boy throws. Yeah. So that's a clear distinction from Lamar Jackson right now.
Running reminds me of Lamar.
For sure.
I guess is more a point the point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
But we did get to see him play 2 very big games last year. He had to step in for Trevor Lawrence, who was out because he did get COVID. He stepped in for Boston College and Notre Dame. He did win playing against Boston. He completed 30 of 41 passes, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, um,
Always nice.
and added another 30-yard rushing score. So that was and that one was like, I remember like almost having a heart attack during that game because I was like, we should not be this close to them.
Yeah, I remember you
And
texting.
they ended up, yeah, they ended up pulling off the win, which made me feel a little bit better for the next game, which was a big one. It was Notre Dame. It was probably the most anticipated like Clemson matchup.
Okay.
Looking at the schedule, like that was the one that everyone was like, "Ooh, can't wait to watch it." Um, and this game went into double overtime and ended with a score of 47-40 Notre Dame. It was a top five matchup. And DJ stats from this game alone, he completed 29 of 44 passes for 439 passing yards.
Yeah, that's unreal.
He he threw for 2 passing touchdowns, added another rushing touchdown. He had 400 plus passing yards, was his first of his career. He's only the fifth Clemson quarterback to ever accomplish that. And Trevor Lawrence has only done it once.
That'll be
He broke
interesting.
he did break a freshman record previously held by Deshaun Watson, which was 435 passing yards.
Nice.
One
Love
game.
to see records
Come
get
on.
broken. Yeah, but
He
the
did all of
thing,
that in one game, and it was like the game with the most pressure, and he still lost.
yeah, I mean, I don't go nuts over one game. You still have to do it consistently. And any given
I'm
Sunday
just
is
think,
a statement for a reason.
I
Like
just
he's
think
he's
it was,
exciting.
if he did this in a game against anyone else, I wouldn't have been as impressed. But because this was it was a top five matchup against Notre Dame, and we didn't have Trevor Lawrence, everyone was looking at him.
Yeah, but was this the first game that Lawrence was like right after Lawrence was announced not available?
This was the second. So we played against Boston College, almost lost to Boston College.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, now I have to go play Notre Dame. So
Yeah,
like,
I
it's
think
not
it's
like,
also
yeah, you won, but it's still like, we should have won that game by a lot more.
no, for sure. And it's like I'm not trying to undercut your excitement for him because he does look great. It's just like at the end of the day, there might not have been enough tape on him, so you're still preparing for someone that you don't know much about. So
Yeah.
that also could mean that the defense was slightly different. So even when it is a top five defense, you never have to like you can never really assume that it's this quarterback's unbelievable. It is also that the defense doesn't know the quarterback's tells. It's the same reason why like every time you'll notice with Mahomes and I'm only using Mahomes because he has been so successful, is like people are learning how to stop him. Like there is now enough tape on Mahomes that you kind of understand as a defenseman how to counteract what's happening. And I just think not enough's come out on them. And the only reason I wouldn't have made this point about Radler is by now there is enough tape in college of him.
Yeah.
Not what he'll be in the league. It will still take time for tape to come out on him in the league. So it's one of those where I can't wait for maybe 2-3 games into the season because I do think your quarterback's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I want to see it consistent.
Oh, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that for a game that was highly anticipated with a lot of pressure, for him to put up those kinds of stats is like pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's always nice. You always love to see it.
It would have been more impressive if he won.
Yeah, well,
The fact that he pushed it into like, I can't remember who pushed it. I think we pushed it into overtime and they pushed it into double overtime.
oof.
One or the other. But that's how it went.
Well then, I mean, I guess they don't make money anyways, so it doesn't really matter. On that note, that's actually what I believe we want to talk about today is there's been a lot of debate over whether student athletes should get paid or not. So the thought has always been they're students first. They get scholarships to play, and therefore they shouldn't be making money outside of that. But there is something to be said for how much money schools actually make when they use the names and likeness of these star players, like Trevor Lawrence, like like at one point Spencer Radler will be making the money, like
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. This is a lot of money to promote their games, sell their tickets, merchandise for the school. And the current rules prohibits players from receiving branding deals or endorsements. And student athletes under the current law, they're not allowed to take money from anyone. And so the question is whether or not you believe college athletes should get paid. So Chelsea, do you think they should get paid?
I think there is a case to be made for name and likeliness. I understand people consider that they're getting paid in the form of a scholarship, like you're getting paid, like you're getting to go to school there on behalf of them and also play for the team. So not only are you getting an education, but you're also getting the sports aspect of it, getting probably an opportunity to go to the NFL draft. Like that's still something very big the school is offering. Again, like you said, schools make a lot of money off of these games, selling the tickets, selling their merchandise. Their names are on these jerseys, and these players don't see a cent.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where it's wrong. And there are also students that may have the scholarship, but they still have to work a job because they can't afford rent or anything else. Maybe they have to move across the country. It's not just about the scholarship. Like there's a lot of other aspects as well. And some of these players do still have to get jobs even if they are on a scholarship.
Yeah, for me, I will always say college players deserve to be paid. And it's purely from the standpoint that they're risking their career. They have the way the NCAA has made it, and make no mistake about it, the NCAA has definitely crafted this to work this way, is these players have to go through 3 years in football before they're eligible to declare for the draft. They have to play 3 years. And the problem with that is 3 years that they risk an ACL tear, a back injury,
Concussions.
Concussion, things that are then used against them to drop them in the draft order so that they are then paid less money. So if something can directly affect your income in the long run, you deserve to be compensated for it every time you risk yourself out on that field. And the thing that has always bugged me the most about is when I first started hearing about whether or not they should be paid, it really stemmed from video games.
Yeah.
So the NCAA used to put out football. Well, I mean, they put out basketball and all sports games. But the football game was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And like I used to play it.
So they used to have one?
Yep.
Okay.
I used to play it.
And then they took
it was away. Yeah. So then there was this big disagreement about, well, how come I'm not seeing money from those games when like you had, a Michael Vick, you had players selling these games, right? And instead, what they moved over to trying to do is to do an NCAA game, but not use any of the players' likeness or names, which is kind of a skate around because then you can go in to create a player, actually create your entire team exactly like the college you want it to be and play with it. So there's still ways around it, and it's all just to not pay these players. But what always bothered me about it is if you don't play the video game, there's an online game mode called Ultimate Team, and it's basically like you get packs of cards. So similar to Pokemon cards, Magic cards, any collectible cards, you open them up and they have players on them. And you want to get those big, well-known players, the players that are going to win you the games. Well, they're making billions off of microtransactions is what we'll call them, but they're loot boxes and they're randomly distributed. And we can get into, and we've talked about that as gambling before, but that is a lot of money brought into EA and to these sports companies, the NCAA, that it's like, well, come on, why can't players get a piece of the pie? Like, why not set up a situation where the first time you get that player, the player gets the money for their name and likeness. Then when you go and buy another loot box or buy more card packs or anything, and you get that player a second time, because inevitably you get overlap, that money can go towards the corporation. You know, give it so that the first time, fine, the original person, original artist gets all the credit. But then any additional time, yeah, fine. Be greedy, make your money, be corporate stooges. Like, do what you have to do. But there's enough money. Like, come on.
Is. And, I mean, we do have some good news coming because there has been this big push to at least use their name and likeliness, like to be paid for that. So the NCAA Division I Council has planned to act on legislative proposals in June that would allow athletes to be paid to be sponsors, social media influencers, and product endorsers. And they announced that earlier in May. And this meeting is going to happen, I believe, around June 22nd. And they want to have the legislation in place by July 1st. So if all goes well, they could actually see payments and deals being made starting this season.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
The NCAA is nefarious. I don't really trust them, so who knows?
I think it's just that, like, it's been put off for so long. At this point, they're just like, okay, you make the rules and we'll sign the deal.
Yeah.
Like, there's been so much pushback that I feel like it's just like, at this point, they're like, okay, we'll go to the meeting and we'll, like, discuss it. Like, that's how it seems to all of us, but I feel like it's just like, just tell us what you want and we'll sign it, because I think that just like they don't want to have to make it at this point because they've been against it for so long.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's corporations wanting to be in charge. Like, the NCAA has done so much that's like quote unquote shitty for its players. And so it's hard to see and it's hard to trust. And while I like college sports, I think that the organization has really, really put a damper on college sports.
Yeah, I agree.
But I guess that's all we have for this week. So just a very quick update. We are still working on adding our podcast to Spotify and Apple now.
Yes.
And once those apps are up, we'll let our listeners know. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the show on YouTube. And if you have any questions or hot takes for the upcoming college season, drop them in the comments below.
Yeah.
We love hearing from our listeners, and it's always
I'll fight
nice
you if you talk trash about Clemson.
Right? It's always nice to interact. I mean, someone commented on the Chiefs schedule last week what the record will be, and I just have to say, keep dreaming if you think they're 15-2. And with that,
I'm offended.
Yeah, you should be. I got to talk my shit. But next week, we are switching gears back to the NFL, as we're going to highlight some of the philanthropies that the players take part in or have founded when they're, in the off season or off the field. I'm really, really excited to dive into this topic and look at all the positive actions these players are taking, because it always feels like the media and anything that makes it to mainstream media is all the negative, and we very rarely get to cover some positive things that these players are doing, both with their money and their actions. Yeah. And so stay tuned, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Take care, guys.
Listen in to Primetime Dimes every Wednesday for your latest on football.